All right, Raj, let's go ahead and get right into your attic here. I wanted to establish that this is your house. And I figure what I'll do is just kind of walk you through my exploration of your attic this afternoon or this morning and just kind of let you hear some of my thoughts about it and let you take a look at a few things at the end of the video to sort of bring it all together. And then, of course, I'll follow up with your reports. But we talked a little bit about the flu and the discolored insulation, and I have a couple different uh, examples of that here throughout this video. But you can see here where just around any type of crack or crevice, anywhere where air can flow, you can see that the insulation, of course, is in place, but as I mentioned, it's discolored. And then you can kind of see what they did when they built the house. They put the metal flashing to cover that chase, that opening, but that's not really going to seal things up. And I don't know if you could see a couple of times, I found a little drill bit there. I don't know if you could see a couple of times when I was looking more towards my left over there, you would see those skylights that were uninsulated, but you're going to get a clear look at those here soon. And I think in the beginning, I was just sort of taking everything in, and I noticed a few of those bare spots related to the the electrical work that was done, those fans. All right, so I like to dig around a little, just look to see, you know, just looking for any type of show and tell, things that I can, just to paint a good picture. I mean, there's a bunch going on everywhere, but some of the big things is really what I try to focus in on. And now you can start to see these skylights coming into focus. And then I started to think maybe there was work done on the bathrooms. I can't quite remember if maybe there was some new sinks or some work done in the bathrooms below. That could have been a reason for the insulation to be removed. But do you see how it's just sort of scattered and strewn and thrown about? And that was just very peculiar to me. That's what your attic over there on that side looked like when they first did it. Well, not necessarily quite like it did when they first did it, but certainly that is the area that hasn't been touched and is the deepest. Here, this is a really good example, Raj, of a thermal bypass. This is your plumbing penetration. This is a plumbing stack that goes to the roof. Plumbing systems, I didn't even know this. They also use air. But you can kind of see how they utilize the wall cavities to run these different systems. And all of these are open at the attic floor, which just leads to communication of air, which of course is omnipresent. It is behind the walls. And the way you have to always think about things is we want to keep your air inside of six sides. The the front, back, the two sides, that's four, and the top and the bottom. So the walls inside your house that carry air through them, we want to make sure that those aren't leaking either. And one good example you can kind of see there, another example I should say, is electrical penetrations where the wires are drilled through those top plates, those top of the walls to feed down to the switches and outlets and things like that. And you can kind of see just once again the skylights that are um, not insulated. And at the end of the video, I'm going to show you a couple of things, one of which is going to be a few photos of a buttoned up skylight. trying to remember. Yeah. What I wanted to do here is I think, is give a little perspective. Yeah. Just on where I'm calling it, that between that 8 and 10, maybe even 7 to 10, depending on where you're standing, inches, which is, originally was R30. That's when the house was built. That's 91. That's what the code was then, R30. And of course, now we're R49. Um, and you'll see how we're going to get there with the paperwork and stuff like that. All right. So I wanted to just get a little closer look here at your bathroom ventilation fan, or exhaust fan, I should say. And I believe that I had mentioned this to you earlier that I could see through down into your bathroom. And I'm hoping the camera caught that. We'll see. I tried to get it, so we're about to find out. But, just over top of the bathroom, you can see more of that plumbing, those different, pipes that are running. Here we go. And you can really see there how dirty that insulation is. And that's right at that point where the fan was, put into the drywall, where essentially that crevice, that crack is. And that's just another example of where the warm air is escaping in the winter and hot air is bleeding in, through those places in the summer. And then I really made an effort here just to really make sure that I showed you how these exhaust fans are vented. And this is typical of a 1991 house. In fact, they're still doing that. Well, not necessarily today, but they were still doing that 10 years ago. And I think I'm going to get a shot of it here. But by the way, that piece of cardboard that you see that's sort of keeping that gap between the roof and then that overhang, that's a good thing. That's your baffle. And that's going to allow air intake into your attic, which is what we want. But what we don't want is we don't want any moisture sources, i.e., or example, the bathroom exhaust fan pulling shower moisture into the attic or just dumping into that soffit with the hopes of it, exiting out, to the outside. We want to make sure that we see it all the way through to the outside. And there's going to be some information in the report as well as in the pricing on how we're going to do that. Okay, so you kind of have a feel for your attic. You're getting the feel for the skylights, of course, and just some of the different penetrations. And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to have a few more good examples coming up here of some things in your attic before I cut the tape. But I do want to make sure that I allot a little bit of time here at the end just to get a few things going for you so you can sort of see how we would attack this. But one thing I would probably put in the video if you haven't already seen or observed on how to do it, and that's to take care of that hatch. And here, I think this is one of the good ones where at the top plate, the top of that wall, you could just see how dark that insulation is. And that's just a telltale sign that, air is just carrying through that. And as we discussed, insulation itself does not stop the flow of air. So that's a good segue. I think you've seen enough of the attic. I'm going to let you take a peek here at a few things on how we would attack and treat your attic. All right, this is an air sealing video. You can see how we apply the 1-part spray foam to the different cracks and crevices at the attic floor, including the top plates and those electrical penetrations that you saw in the video of your attic. Next, I want you to see a couple of skylights that we did. And the way we do it is we seal the cracks and crevices as you saw, and we add insulation to R13, and then we wrap those skylights nice and tight and seal them up. Next, I want to show you in a little more detail how we treat the hatch. And you can see Ivan, he is one of my crew members, and he uses the rigid foam board to cut a couple of squares to get it up to above R10. And we like to marry the pieces together so that they're all one continuous piece. And then you can see he applies some adhesive to the insulation and uses the original panel and fixes the two together. And then we use this weather stripping around the lip or the edge so that, when we pop it up into the hole and it sits on that molding, the not only is the piece of drywall itself insulated, but it's also air sealed. And then here, I just wanted you to get a quick look at how we block a overhang. And those floor joists get blocked to the inside of the house. And then you can see the insulation, how we use the spray foam underneath to seal and insulate to R25. Thanks for watching.